This was the syllabus that we were discussing about. And yesterday, I have asked you guys that please try to create your AWS or any cloud vendor account so that we can start our practice and we can do our regular session. So in that series, what I'm going to do is just wanted to know that who has tried to create their account, I mean AWS account, and not able to create that. Any one of you?
I did not try actually.
Okay. And what about the others?
I
Okay,
got.
no.
I have created AWS and GitHub both.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have created your AWS account. I think, I mean, did you face any kind of a issue over there?
No, 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 no.
Okay. So in that series, I'm going to show you that in cloud, how I would say in cloud, how we can create our own Linux system or our own Linux server. It is generally yesterday I have there are two things right now. When the cloud is immersed so much in the IT, then people are not provisioning in-house setups. They are completely going on to the uh, cloud vendors, and they are creating their own clouds over there. But what I'll do, I'll provide you a sheet where it is each and every step is mentioned. Suppose if you for just practice purpose, if you want to install the Linux system on your local system, how can you do that? But let's just start our first class by creating the first server. This is the very first class by creating the server onto a AWS account. So guys, for that, what you have to do, once you create your AWS account and you are logged in into your AWS account, so there's a thing over available here. You can see it is saying some Mumbai geographic location it is giving here. So in terms of cloud, if I would say this geographic location is called region. So what is a reason is a reason generally is don't be I mean, don't think that we are starting our cloud from day one. No, it's just to give you an overview that how we are going to create our resources on cloud, and definitely we are pursuing it, with Linux only. But the very first thing that we are doing, we are creating our first server on cloud. Okay, so guys, over here you can see there are around 20 reasons available in AWS. Okay, we are creating our resources in Mumbai region. It is not mandatory that you should create your account or serve or resources in Mumbai region only. You can create your resources in any of the regions. Okay, but why I'm choosing Mumbai region? Because it is very near to my geolocation. So that is why I'm picking Mumbai over here. Okay, so once you selected over here,
Because 1 second, does that server location matters in any way?
in productions you can say it can matter, but for the practice purpose, I'm not
No,
saying.
we will talk in real-time scenarios only, not for
Yes,
practice purpose.
yes, it will matter.
If I
Why?
choose, instead of Mumbai, I choose a US location, what would happen?
So there might be a probability that you can face the latency, but there might be a probability. I'm not saying that definitely you are going to face that, but for the good practice, it is said that if you are launching a server which is very nearer to your from where you are hosting your application, then that is good. And apart from this, each and every geolocation on the basis of the availability of the resources does having the costing. Let's say if I talk about the AWS has launched their first region as North Virginia. So after that, they have developed so many regions that we are seeing right now: Ohio, California, or Oregon, Mumbai, Osaka, and all those. Now, if I talk in that term, after selecting this particular region, so now I'll tell you what is reason is. Let's say uh, this is a region. Okay, let's say this is your Mumbai region. So it is nothing but it is a geolocation. Okay, so under this geolocation, what it exactly the thing is working behind that, you are creating your resources in Mumbai region. Actually, uh, this thing is called your region. First thing, there are two things generally in AWS. One is region, another one in zone. So what is region? Region is the geolocation for any data center. Okay, whereas what is zone is, zone is nothing but it is the physical availability of the data centers. Let's say this is my data center A. I would name it as D1 and D2. So now if I say that what is the difference between a data center and a region, is that the very first thing, a region can have multiple data centers. The very first thing, the region can have multiple data centers. Why? Because if a region is having multiple availability zones or multiple data centers, then it is providing the concept. Then we do have a concept of high availability. Let's say we do have in Mumbai region, we do have two data centers. That is one data D1 and another is D2. Somehow, what happens that there is a some kind of a downtime in region in data center D1. Now, what will happen as cloud provides the high availability feature? So whatever the application we do have at that time, our application is not completely down. The traffic will start to serve from the another availability zone. So in that manner, generally a high availability works in cloud. In clouds, it is not related to only AWS. The same thing works in any of the cloud vendors. Okay. Now,
Yeah,
let's
because once
yeah, Suman.
Generally nowadays, after I think 9/11 attack, people are maintaining different server locations.
Okay.
So if we are having some calamity or something in the Mumbai region, maybe those data centers won't be available for access. And being a cloud, we should be able to access anywhere. Just my doubt is that.
So generally what happens, I mean, for the natural calamities and all those things, generally what happens, this is the generally each and every cloud that it says that it is providing the maximum availability. So in my past experience, I have not faced any scenario where I would say there is a completely downtime in any of the region. The very first thing that I'm saying, let's suppose if there is any particular downtime in any of the region, then it is cloud vendors responsibility that how they are going to serve the traffic. If it is there is a downtime, they have to acknowledge on that. So I would say in that at that time, the cloud vendor is having the responsibility for any kind of a downtime or for any kind of a business loss. So they are responsible for that. So that is why each and every cloud vendor say that we are providing the maximum availability. Definitely they are having some kind of a algos running behind. Let's say if there is a issue in any of the region, then definitely they try to serve the traffic to some from some another reason as well. But I have not faced a scenario where the complete reason goes down. Okay. So yeah, so are you clear with this reason and availability zone concept? Can we move forward? So I'm not saying that only there will be two availability zones in any region. There can be 3 availability zones as well. Depending on the region, it varies from 2 to 3. But I think only there is one reason, I would say far beyond, there is only one reason where it was only a single availability zone. I think it was located in, I think, Osaka. I'm not sure. Might be it has been upgraded now to 2 availability zones, but earlier it was having a single availability zone. So now the server service in AWS is called the EC2. So EC2 is nothing but it is an acronym for Elastic Compute Cloud. Okay. So for creating your server, what you have to do is you have to click on EC2. Okay. And over here, what you have to do, you can click on instances. So generally this dashboard is showing that how many servers are running. So you can see that I have created so many servers where only a single server was running. So as of now, I'm just stopping this server. Okay. And I'm trying to create a new server. So what I'll do is, let's say for creating a new server, I have to click on launch instances. So once I clicked on launch instances, here in the name and tags, I can provide the name of the server that I'm going to create. Let's say I'm creating this server as Linux test. Okay. So this is the very first server that I'm creating over here, Linux test. Now, when we goes down, application and OS images. So this is the actual thing that we are configuring for our server. It says that what kind of a flavor server you want. Let's say you want to configure Amazon Linux, you want to configure Mac OS, you want to configure Ubuntu Linux, you want to configure any Windows, Red Hat. So you have so many options available here. So depending on your use case, you can choose any of the server, but we are going with Amazon Linux. Okay. So under here you can see that it is providing the AMI. So AMI is nothing but it is for Amazon machine image. So this is the ID of this particular image that we are using. Okay, and you can see the name here is Amazon Linux 2023. So it is the latest one. So using a latest AMI can reduce the cases that you need to do the frequent updates in your I would say in your infra. Let's say if you are using some AMI which was launched in 2022, so definitely there will be some updates available. So you have to do it after some time. But when you are using the latest one, then it is having the most latest updates with it. Okay. Now, under the description, you can see that it says that you are launching this image, and uh, this was, I think, this on this date, this particular image was launched. This is the architecture. It is 64-bit. Generally, as you are aware, either it is Windows, Mac, or I would say Linux. Each and every OS has been divided into two parts. One is 32-bit, another one is 64-bit. So right now, it is a 64-bit, and that is, it is having the kernel 6.1. So what is kernel? We'll discuss it after some time. Let's just create our first server. So here we can check our architecture. So we have to create the x86 one. Okay. Now here, this is the instance type. So what is instance type? Instance type is nothing but you are giving the your server specifications over here. So when you click on T2 micro, so generally for the free use cases, I would recommend you to just go with this instance type. Why? Because this is free tier eligible. Instead of this, if you are going to use any other, let's say T2 small, so it is not freely available. For the practice purpose, you can start with T2 micro. Okay. Now under this T2 micro, you can see one is family, another one is the vCPU. So in cloud, everything is called vCPU, that is virtual CPU. And because when you I mean, when you are taking any server, definitely you are going with the specs of it, that what kind of how many cores of CPU are going to use, how many GB of RAM you are going to use. Okay, so such kind of a thing. So I'm going with the one CPU and 1 GB of RAM as of now. Now, in cloud, generally what happens for the authentication purpose, we require some key pairs. Uh, so, uh, so that we can connect with the server, and even cloud can understand that the person who is having that particular key is connecting to the server. So this is being used for the authentication purpose, because if you are present physically, you can easily log in into the server. But what about the cloud? So cloud is won't be able to understand that who's going to log in, whether the person is authentic or not. So that is why we have to create a key over here. Now you can have I mean, generally you have the very first time you have to create your keys over here. So when you click on create key, it will ask you the name of the key, that which key you are going to use. So let's say if I'm putting as Linux, just giving Linux underscore test. So here we do have key pair type RSA and ED255 and PAM and PPK. Okay, so the persons who are working on MacBook or Linux, please install this key pair RSA and PAM. And the person who are working on Windows, so they can install RSA and the PPK format. Why? So because there is a difference in the algos of Linux and Windows, I would say. So that is why for Windows, generally the PPK format is being supported if you're trying to log in with the Putty software. Whereas for Linux, they do have their own shell. So there is no requirement to convert it. So that is why you have to select the .pem format here. So once you have selected these things, you have to create a key pair. So now when you create the key pair, it will ask you that where you want to download this particular key pair. So I'll just choose my location. Now this key pair will be saved on your local system. So the next time when you are trying to log in onto that, okay, so you have to use this particular key. The very first time, I'm saying the very first time when you are creating a new server, I'm again repeating my words. When you are creating a new server, you have to create a key pair. And once you are logged into the server, then you can do the customization in that. And next time it is not mandatory for you to use that key pair. Okay. Now it asks for the network settings. So as of now, we are not making any changes into the network setting. We are just taking it as default. And I'll just give you a brief of it, that it is the VPC that is we are using, or I would say the network that we are using. So this is the default network of AWS. We have not created our custom VPC. When we are digging more into AWS, we will start creating our instances in custom VPC, and those servers won't be accessible to the outer world. Those will be accessible in the custom network only. In that manner, we are going to create our resources. Okay. So under here in the configuration storage, it asks me that how much GB storage I required. Each and every operating system required some space to boot up. Okay, so that volume is called the root volume. So that is why we are taking our root volume here. Let's say I'm initially giving it as 8 GB only. Okay, so once I have selected that, there are some families of the storages are also available. Do not, I'm not.
One second, because 1 second. Earlier we choose one CPU and 1 GB of RAM, that is, and this is storage. This is ROM, storage part.
Yes, it is the hard drive. I would say. Okay. Now, what we are going to do when we clicked on the configure storage, let's go down. Okay, and there will be chances that you have to create additional volume. You have to attach additional volume with your server. So we will do it later. But as of now, I'm just creating a default server for you. So just click on the launch instances. I'm again going to show you the configuration. I have nothing I have done. I have just given the name. I have selected the image, and this I have selected the instance type. I have created a key pair, and then I have I have configured my storage, and I'm clicking on launch instance. So once I click on launch instance, so what actually AWS is doing right now, it is creating an server for me in the Mumbai region in its data center. And what I'm doing right now here, I am creating that resource by the AWS console. Okay, so to check that whether my server has been created or not, either you can click on instances or you can directly click on this instance ID. So instance ID means the server that you have created. Each and every server is having a unique ID associated with it. So that ID is called the instance ID. So no two servers can have the same instance ID. Each server will have the unique instance ID. So when I click here, you can see this, that my server has been right now in the running state. The status is initializing. Now, what does this initializing means? So it is actually creating the it is just allocating the network to my server. It is attaching the I would say hard drive to my server. It whatever the specifications I have selected, it is configuring my server in that way only. So let's just refresh our window that and see whether our server is. So after I would say few seconds, you can see that right now the status which is showing initializing here, it is going to show you as status check or status passed. So let's just wait for a few more seconds. So when you click on this, you can see that there are details here. So what details are these? That this is your instance ID. Okay. Now this is the details about your Linux server. This is the public IP address of your server by which we are trying to access our servers. Okay. This is the private IP. Now, what is public IP and private IP? I'll tell you about. Now, the instance state. What is the instance state? It is right now running. This is the DNS. So DNS is nothing but it is an acronym for domain name service. So what it actually is, I'll give you a brief of it. Let's say if I ask you, hey, you have to remember my number instead of my name. So is it easy for you to remember my number, or is it easy for you to remember my name? I think it will be easy for you to remember my name, correct? So in that manner, server also work. Each and every server is having their own IP. So it is not easy for us to remember each and every IP of the server. So definitely we resolve that IP with some name. Let's say we'll name this server as Linux test. So next time if I'll ask you, hey, just log in onto that Linux test server, so it means I'm asking you to log in on this server whose name is Linux test and IP is this one. Okay, I'm not going to say you, hey, log in onto, even it is not possible for me, or it is not easy for me to remember the IP of the server. So that is why we uh, uh, just denote each and every server with some name. So that thing is called domain name service. Okay, so it is not related only with server, it is with IP as well. Okay, and here you can see the host name of the server. Okay, this is the private IP DNS, this is the public IP DNS, and this is the private IP DNS. And this is the instance type that we have selected. The auto assigned public IP is this one. Apart from this, if I would go down, you can see when I switch to the security one, we have not done any kind of a customization in the security. So nothing is there. It is completely default. In the networking, we have chosen the, I would say, existing subnet of AWS. So nothing has been changed over here. So this was the availability zone I was talking about. So here you can see this availability, this server has been launched in AP South -1A, means this server is launched in Asia Pacific. South means India. One means AP South 1 means in the Mumbai region, and A means availability zone number A. There will be some server which will have availability zone number B, C, D, like that. So this server has been launched in availability zone number A, means I would say data center who will be denoted as A in Mumbai region. Okay. So now when I switch on to the storage, you can see that my storage has been attached with my server, and you can see the device, root device name is this one. It is not mandatory for us to remember this name. We just have to see the, here you can see we have chosen 8 GB of RAM, which is attached with my server. Okay, and you can see the status of this. It is attached. The time, attachment time was this one. It is in GMT. Now when I go into the status check, you can see right now it is in initializing state. So these are two kind of a check: system status check and instance status check. So might be we are going to discuss it about more in the coming chapters of AWS, but definitely you are going to face such the question can be asked that what are the checks available in AWS. So your answer would be there are two checks available in AWS. One is system check and another one is your instance check. What is the use case of these checks? We'll discuss in some in the coming classes. So this is the custom or I would say default monitoring dashboard of your server. So what is actually AWS is doing? It is creating your server, and it is also creating a monitoring dashboard for your server when the time you are creating your server. So this dashboard is the default one which is being provided by AWS. You can customize this dashboard as well. Nothing to worry on this. Right now you can see we do have a dot available here. It says that that this server was created at this time. So what will happen, guys, why this dashboard is required? Let's say somehow in the night you were not available in shift, and you came to know that your server was restarted. So how you are going to debug that? You will just log in onto the cloud console. You will check that at what time the server got restarted. So for that, what you have to do, you have to select the server and you have to switch on to the monitoring part. Under monitoring, it will show you the time when the CPU utilization was completely down, or I would say yeah, the utilization was completely down, or status check was not available for a particular duration. It means your server was not available at that time. Okay, and this is the tag. Generally each and every server you can denote it with some tag. So let's connect our server. I think our server is completely ready. Yes, it is ready. Here you can see the status has been changed from initializing to 2x2. Okay, so what we, for connecting to our server, what we have to do is we should copy this particular IP. This is the public IP, and we can check that by which username, because let's say if you are logging into a Windows operating system, definitely you are logging with some username associated with it. Let's say user A, user B, user C, because whenever you want to log in into any system or in any server, definitely there is a username or a user for that. So let's see what is the default user. Generally, each and every cloud provides a default user to log in into the cloud console very first time. Okay, so we are going to use the same default user. So for checking the default user, what we can do, we can click on the connect. It says that your default user is ec2-user. So we are going to use that user only. Okay, just this one. Now what I'm going to do is, the protocol that I have to use to connect my Linux or Mac operating system with the Linux system should be SSH. So SSH is nothing but this is called the secure shell. Okay, this protocol works on the port number 22. Remember guys, each and every protocol is having a unique port number associated with it, because networking works on the protocol and ports. Because suppose if I'll give a command, let's say SSH, so my networking topology is not going to understand what is SSH. So I have a default port number associated with each and every protocol, which is defined by the I would say Internet Authority. So then I'll give a -i option. -i is for the identification. Okay, now I'll choose my just a second. Yeah, I'll go into the, don't be confused about that. First of all, I'll give some permission to my file. I have given this permission. Okay, now what I'll have to do is SSH-i. Now I would give the identification name or the key that I have generated. This was the key that I have generated. The username, okay, that AWS was giving to me at username at, and the IP on which we want to log in. Okay, so we want to log in onto this particular server. Let's say this is the server on which we want to log in. I'll just do a copy and paste for this one, and here you have to give a yes. Generally this is the very first time when you are trying to connect with any server, it is just doing the fingerprint check. The identification that you have used, it is trying to check that the correct identification is being used or not. So when you press yes and the identification is perfect, then you are able to log in onto your Linux server. So in this manner, you can create your Linux server on AWS, and you can log in onto your Linux server. Now, before connecting to this server, you can see I have told you that SSH generally works on the protocol 22, but I have not given anything related to 22 over here. Why? Because SSH by default works on 22. If my protocol is being customized, let's say from 22 to some other protocol, let's say 122 or 222, then I have to give an option of providing the custom port for that. But as I have used the default port, so it is not mandatory for me to provide a port over here. Now this is my AWS server. Okay, now if I show you that I have connected to the correct server or not, the very first thing that I can show you is this one. The RAM that I have chosen was around 1 GB. Here you can see 1 GB. So guys, this command, that is free-m command, this command is the command in Linux which you can use to check the RAM of your Linux server. With this command, you can check that this is the total RAM of your server, how many of the RAM is being used, how many RAM is free, how many bytes or KB data is shared, how many is in buffer, and how much RAM is available to use. So with this command, you can check that what is the RAM specification of your server. Apart from this, we have attached a 8 GB of storage to our Linux server. So when this command df-h, which means disk it will say disk free -h means human readable format. When I click on it, it says that this was the hard drive name that we have connected. Let's say if I'll show you again, I'll go into the storage. Here you can see it was XVDA. Okay. And it is having XVDA, correct one. Okay. 8 GB was created. So this is the 8 GB storage has been attached, and the remaining storage that you are seeing here, let's say dev temp fs. So this is the storage which is attached by AWS by default, so that they can boot up their system. Boot up means they can at least start their system or make their system to be in a available state. So in this manner, you can create your own Linux server on AWS. Now, any questions, guys, you can ask so that we can further with the other topics.
Hello, yes, because this is you are opening through MacBook, right?
Yes.
What about Windows?
Okay. So for Windows, what you have to do, yesterday I have asked you guys to create a putty session. So I think, have you created that or not? Have you installed putty or not?
Putty, yeah, we have.
Okay. So the what you have
because
to
yesterday, because yesterday putty was not discussed. I think
I
trying
have
to create an AWS account and
Actually, yeah, you told you will create AWS account.
yeah, I have told to create AWS account, and I think MobaXterm and putty was also mentioned on
Yeah, you
the
mentioned.
yeah. So that was used to SSH your Linux server. No worries if you have not installed it. We'll try to do it now for those persons who are using Windows. So what you have to do here is the process of creating server on AWS is similar for all the guys either in Windows or in Mac or in Linux. So
Yeah, okay.
what you have to do, let's say you have created this server. Once your server is created, after that there are some little bit changes in I mean I would say connecting your Linux server with Windows. Now, if I talk about this, okay, so let me just finish some more things as well. Okay, so let's say if you are using a Linux system, okay, and you are using a Mac and you are using a Windows. Now, the three and suppose you have created a Linux server. So how you can create a Linux with this? For connecting a Linux system with a Linux system, you have to use the SSH protocol. Okay. For connecting a Mac with a Linux, you have to use a SSH protocol. Whereas for connecting a Windows with Linux, either you can use the putty, okay, or you can use the Ubuntu WSL, or I would say you can use the custom softwares like just a second, MobaXterm. So these are the custom software that you can use for connecting your Windows with Linux. Now, again, let's say if you are using putty, then you should download your either you should download your key as a PEM file, and later on you can convert, and there is another chance that you can download it as ppk file and then you can import it. Whereas for Ubuntu WSL and MobaXterm, there is no requirement for you to convert your PEM file. You can directly, the way I have connected, the same way you can connect as well onto your Linux system. So and apart from this, guys, it is please do not lose your key, because suppose if you lost your key and you have not imported your identification onto the server, then next time it is not possible for you to log in on your server without the key. So the first time when you logged on to the server, please import your identification on the server, and then you can work this in the same manner. Yeah. Now, any questions, guys? Just let me know. Okay. How many of you have installed putty?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, and how many of you has installed Ubuntu WSL? Anyone of you has installed MobaXterm? Okay, no issues. So can anyone of you share your screen once and show me that any one of you can install MobaXterm right now. I can show you that how you can connect with the Windows system as well.
Okay, now I will try to install.
Or what can I do for you? After this class, I'll provide you a sheet in the in the WhatsApp group that Gaurav will create, and by following with that, you can try to connect with your EC2 instance. Generally, in EC2, every server, in AWS, every server is called an instance. So you can try to connect with your instance, and if you are easily able to connect with your server, then that is good. If you are not able to connect with your server, we can check it on tomorrow. I'm good to go with any of the approaches.
Because I have just messaged you in the chat.
Mhm.
See, one error message it is I'm getting.
Okay, so I think it is related to your
Can I share my screen?
yeah, you can. Just a second. Suman, I'll answer your question, no issues. Just allow me a second.
Okay, even after the class, it's fine.
Yeah, okay, no issues. So I'll stop sharing my screen. You can share your screen once. Okay, so click on Start Local Terminal. It's good if you have installed MobaXterm. Okay, so have you created any server or have you
No,
created an
not
AWS
yet.
account?
No, not yet.
Okay, so do one thing. Although it won't be possible for you to log in. Just a sec. Yeah, it won't be possible for you to log in as of now. What I can do, just for the training purpose, what you can do, just try to execute the command that I'm giving you over the chat window. Okay. Okay, SSH. EC2 user, this one, and the IP was. Yeah, I have given a command to execute on your MobaXterm. Can you please try to execute it?
SSH EC2.
-EC2 user @ yeah 143.194. So what it actually doing for you? Remember, I have told you that initially we have to give our identification with the option -I to log in onto our server. So what is actually happening right now? I think who has shared the screen? Yes, Sayed. So what is actually happening? You can easily able to connect with your server when you do have the identification. Right now, you do not have the identification. That is why it is giving a permission denied at your end. So let's say when the next time you create your AWS account and once you have created your AWS account and you have created your server, and when you after next time what you have to do, you just write this command ssh -i along with the username and IP. In that scenario, you will able to log in onto your Linux server.
Okay. With this user, I am not able to log in now.
Even with any user, you can't log in because you do not have the identification with you as of now, because I'm the person.
No, actual identification in the sense the key you have downloaded before.
Yes,
That is the one.
yes.
Okay. First, that key you told me. So you told us something that we need to convert that key for Windows.
I also told you that if you are installing mobile xterm or Ubuntu WSL,
Yeah, no, not required.
yes, so that is why it is not required for you. But for Windows, it is required for you to use that. So, okay, now I'll again go back to the topic. So, guys, if you have any kind of a doubt, you can ask me. So, Suman, either you want to use the mobile xterm or you want to use the WSL, you can go with any of the approaches. I would suggest that you can use the mobile xterm. Even what I'm going to show you. Syed, can you please run the command free space -m?
Yeah.
Please share your screen once. Okay, so even you can see the command that I have executed on my Linux server was giving the same output, whereas when you are running the same command on Windows server, or I would say Windows system, and you do have a Linux plugin installed on your system, it is giving you the respective outputs. Let's say this command I'm using in Linux to just check my RAM. Even you can see when Syed has executed this command at his end, he is also getting the RAM. I'm sure that Syed, you are using 16 GB of system in your 16 GB of RAM, correct?
Yeah. In my laptop, it is 16 GB.
Yes. And can you please try to execute df space -h command? So here you can see that this is the I would say hard disk partition he is running right working right now. I think he has 500 GB of partition with associated with the drive G431 associated with drive E. Syed, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's correct.
Yeah.
It's totally
So
1 TB hard disk.
yes.
SSD.
Yeah. So guys, now you can have two approaches. Either you are directly creating your servers on Linux, and I would say you are creating your servers on AWS and you are accessing it and doing the practice on cloud directly, or for locally till the time your AWS account is not created and you want to just do the basic I would say hands-on, you can go with in such approach as well.
Actually, these commands belongs to like for Linux, but it is showing Windows information, right?
Yes.
Because of this mobile terminal.
Yes, it is showing the information of your Windows system because your base operating system is Windows. You are just using a plugin onto it.
Yeah, this is plugin.
Yeah.
Okay. So all the commands of Linux will work here. Huh?
Correct. I would say not all the, but most of the commands will work on it.
Like for general monitoring commands, like df-h
For general
monitoring.
system administration command, and I would say some I would say basic Linux networking commands will work on this. Let's say if you are using the top command.
Yeah, for processing.
Yeah. Just remove -c with it. Yeah, you can see that it is also showing you some output related to this as well.
Processes.
Okay, so let me just get back to the topic.
Okay.
Okay, so if I talk about the syllabus part, the first thing was creating our own Linux server. So that we have done. Okay, we have discussed about the Linux versus Windows. And some more part on this we are going to cover up. I'm going to share you the slide where you can, if let's say for the practice purpose you want to install Linux on your local system using a virtual box, I'll give you a slide. You can try at your end, and if you face any issue you can come to me. But we are taking cloud here. Okay, so if I would go back to my server, now you can see I was connected to some remote server. Okay, so as I was connected to some remote server, each and every server is having some timeout limit. So as I have not done any work for the time which is associated for the timeout, my server has thrown me out from the server, because let's say if 5 minutes was a timeout there and I have not done anything on my server, then it will throw me out from that. Okay, apart from this, guys, you can see here I have used the command chmod 600 and the key name. So what does that command? This is related to some Linux permission. Please do not that much focus on this. Just the very first time when you are creating your own PAM file, use this command. So what actually this command is doing, it is giving some specified permission to your Linux PAM file, that it can allow, I mean, the particular, this Linux file should have the appropriate permission to log in onto your Linux server. For an example, let's say if I change this permission, let's say 00. So what does that mean? I'm giving no permission to it. And now if I'm trying to log in onto my server, it says that I do not have the appropriate permission to log in on the server. Okay, so again, if I made some changes to this, let's say I have to give 600 only. Okay, now you can see I'm able to log in onto my server. Why 600 only? Why we cannot give I would say more than 600 or less than that? So that is a topic of discussion when we were discussing about the permission. But as of now, whenever you are trying to log in to your server, you have to use this permission, and you have to use this permission when you are connecting your server from Linux to Linux, Mac to Linux, or from Mobile XTM or Ubuntu WSL to Linux. But this kind of a permission is not required when you are trying to connect from PuTTY to your I would say other Linux server. Okay, now guys, any kind of a doubt?
Garu, actually, one doubt.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have created that in AWS account. I have created one launch instance. Okay.
Okay,
And I have connected to that. I got connection got established, but I am not in the root. I am in that EC2 user at IP only. I
okay,
think no need to SSH.
okay.
Yeah.
So you are getting definitely EC2 user at the rate IP, some random IP, correct?
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
So what you have to do, you have to run a command sudo hyphen I command. So what it is actually making you, this particular command is making you the root user, or I would say super user of the your server. And earlier the EC2 user was not the super user of the server. Okay, so what this is the very first command that I was going to tell you when we are starting about the chapter of Linux. I was coming to the point. uh, uh, yeah, so let's say when you log in onto the server, and you are logging with the default user, or I would say a non-root user or non-admin user. So in the introduction of Linux, I told you that the non-root user and the default user is not having all the privileges to access all the files. So that is why, as being a DevOps engineer, you definitely have the uh, I would say root level of privileges or admin level of privileges associated to it. And if you want to switch from a normal user to the root user, then you have to use this command, that is sudo hyphen I. So this command will make you a root user. Apart from this, you can use another user, sudo su. Sudo means you are just giving a admin privileges. Su means switch user or super user. Okay, so when you run this command sudo super user, so this command is also making you the root user of the Linux system.
Yeah, because by giving this,
Got it. Thank you.
what is it, this? What is this privilege?
Yeah.
Like read, write, and execute permissions, right?
Not, I would say, read, write, and execute permission, but maximum of the privileges, I would say. But you can consider it, as of now, you can consider it read, write privileges.
Okay.
Yeah, any other doubts, guys? Anyone is facing any kind of issue when trying to connect with AWS UI, which is the CLI? Okay, so when we have connected with this particular command, let's say we have created this server. Now, what I mean, again, okay. Okay, now when you run, okay, another command, another specialized command that you have to use in your day-to-day task. So whatever the command that we are discussing, you are going to face in your day-to-day roles and responsibilities when you work as a DevOps engineer, or I think might be some of you are also already working in this field. Let's say right now, the way I switched from one directory to the another directory in Windows, the similar way I have to switch from one directory to the another directory in Linux. So how we can do that, and currently in which directory we are working, we have to know about that. So the command that I'm going to use, pwd. So pwd command is an acronym for present working directory. Okay, so it will tell you that currently in which Linux directory you are working. So when you execute this command, it says that right now you are working in the home EC2 user directory. So what does that home EC2 user directory means? Each and every user is having its home directory. Let's say, just compare it with Windows as well. Okay, now let's just compare the same thing with Windows as well. Let's say this is your Windows system. Okay, and you have created some users, let's say user A and user B, or I would say some other random user C. Now when you log in, you can even check right now, when you create any user in any operating system, that user is having its own associated workspace or home directory with it. Let's say if you create, this is a Windows server. Okay, let's say when you create a user A, it will have its own working environment named as A, for user B named as B, for user C named as C. So this A user cannot access the working environment of user B, and user B cannot access the working environment of user C. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is all, this is the same scenario you do face in Windows, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so now, and let's say again in this Windows, I do have a super user, or I would say admin user here. So I think admin user is the person who can access all the directories. He doesn't require any kind of a special permission to access this, correct? Because he's already having all the privileges. He can access all the directories, correct?
Yes. Administrator.
Yeah, the administrator. I think he can access all the user directories.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, correct.
And you can also see the other users who are the non-root user, NRUs. The NRUs or non-root user cannot access the admin directories as well, admin home directory or admin working directory, correct?
Yes.
So the same thing goes with Linux as well. So when I say this home EC2 user, it means this directory is the working directory for the root for the user EC2 user. Now let's say when you create another user in Linux, it will create another working directory for him. N number of users you are going to create, you are going to have N number of user directories. I'm again clear with my words. No two users can have the same working directory. Okay, let's say, okay, so suppose if you want to check that what are the things available into your current directory, or you want to list the contents of the directory. So what you have to use, you have to run the command ls ls means list. When you run it, it says that right now you do not have uh, anything in this directory. That is why it has not given anything to you. Okay, now let's say if you want to change the directory, so what you have to do, cd space slash. So in windows, every the directory that you are trying to access should start with a slash. Okay, let's say I want to switch to the root user directory. So when I run again a command ls, this particular directory is also not having any files associated with it. When I do the present working directory, it shows me that right now I am into the root user directory. Okay, now let's say if I do another thing as let's say if I go to the directory as var log. Okay, var log directory. So when I change my directory location from, let's say, root to var log, do not worried about this directory. I'm going to tell you about this. Suppose, so what you have done, you have changed your directory from one directory to the another directory, and let's check that does this directory is having any contents. Yes, it has. So you can see in this manner, you can see the total number of contents available into your directory. Another command you can use, uh, ls-a command. So what does ls-a command is going to do for you? This command will show you the all the directories, all the files along with the hidden directories or hidden files. Let's say right now here you can see there is no hidden file available here. So it is giving you all the files. Okay, now let's switch from another directory. Okay, let's say if I need to change from, if I do present working directory, it says that right now I am working in the var log directory of my Linux server. Now let's say what I have to do is, let me change my directory from var log to some another directory. Let's say, okay, I'll just go into this directory only, cd slash. Okay, when I do ls, now you can see I'm getting so many folders over here. So these folders are about your Linux file system, that how we are managing our files in Linux. So this particular folder is going to show us, actually this, you can see that this, or whatever the configuration files or whatever the changes that you are going to do, what, let's say if you have added any peripheral device with your Linux server, even everything in Linux is considered as a file and folder. So when you switch to this particular directory and you check the present working directory, it says that right now you are into the slash partition or slash folder, which is having these folders available with it. If I try to check that whether this particular thing is having uh, any hidden files, so this is not having any hidden files. Now you are not able to understand that how much space of I mean, what is the space of each and every folder, and at what time this particular file was created. So what you have to do, ls space hyphen ltrh. Ltrh means it will give you the output into the human readable format. Okay, so when you executed this command, it says that under this folder, you do have these directories, and these directories was created around, let's say, January 30 at this time. These are April 18. So uh, these are created around 18 April. These are created around 26th April. So in this manner, you can see that you can get okay. And apart from this, this is the size of each and every folder. So let's say SRV, it is having around 6 bytes, 8 bytes, 144 bytes, 17 bytes, and 16 KB, 2.9 KB, 16 KB. So in that manner, you can get the details about the folders and the space that the folders are having. And apart from this, the time when the files were created or modified. Okay, so any question, guys, as of now?
Sir, what about 22122 something?
This one.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what this particular, okay, so let's say this file, okay, so I'll tell you this thing, although this was a topic, but as you have raised a question, I'll tell you. This is telling about the permission associated with this file. Okay, this shows that how many links are attached with this particular folder or file. This shows that who owns or who is the owner of this particular file. It says that root and root. So what does that root and root means, I'll tell you a little bit, but for now you should know that this particular thing is related to the ownership of the file. This is I have told you that this is your space, this is the month of creation, date of creation, and time of creation. And apart from this, here, let's say if I segregate, so let's start with this command only. Let's say if I pick this particular thing, okay, let's say now let me segregate it into different things. So when I click on it, let's just segregate this thing D R X. Okay, this one. Okay, now, or what I will do is, now what actually each and every command is doing here is, let's say, so if I talk about this particular thing, here you are getting the name as D. So this D means this particular type of a file or this particular thing that you are listing is directory. If any file is having D associated with it at the very beginning, let's say this one, this is having D, this is having D, this is having D, this is having D, this is having D. It means this is the directory type. Directory type means it is a folder in Linux. Now, what is this L means? L means that it's a link. I mean, remember I was talking about a soft link and hard link at the very beginning when we were discussing about the basics of Linux. So this L denotes the soft link. Okay. Now, if I, let's say, if I create a file in Linux, let's say if I create a file in Linux with V1, now if I do ls-ltrh, it shows that I have neither I have D nor I have L, I have a dash. So this dash means that this particular thing is a file. Now you can denote it easily that D means a directory. Okay. L means a soft link, and dash means a file. So in this manner, each and every file or folder is segregated when you are trying to get the permissions and details about it. Now, about this one, this particular thing, it tells you about the permission that this particular file and folder have. I'm not I would say I'm not opening this chapter because files and permission and ownership is completely a dedicated topic in Linux. But as of now, you should know just one thing, that this is the permission associated with this file or folder. Okay. Now this is the total number of links attached with this particular file and folder. The root means the permission, who owns this file. This thing is also related to the permission, this thing related to the ownership of the file. Okay, this is the space, and this is the date and time of creation. Now questions time. Any questions, guys?
So what about dot?
Which one?
Sir, permission. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so this is not related to anything specific. I mean, each and every this is just to that this is the end of this particular permission. So that is why this dot is mentioned over here. Okay, now okay, back to this. Okay. Now, I'll ask you another thing. Let's say, just segregate our, I mean, even with this particular name, you can check that in which file and folder you are, or what is the task that you are doing right now. Okay. Let's say if I do one thing, and let's just segregate in different forms. This one. Okay. And when I make a little bit difference into it. Okay. Now, what this thing tells you about, this is the user, okay, by which you are logged in onto Linux. At the rate means user at the rate, and the IP or the host name by which you are logged in. Okay. Apart from this, what kind of a user he is, and I mean, which kind of a directory it is. Okay. Let's say if I'll tell you this particular dollar thing means right now you are not a super user, you are a normal user. If you become a super user, here you can see the denomination change from dollar to hash. Hash means that right now you are the root user. Okay. Let's say if you move to some other directories as well, home ec2, still you can see it is having a hash associated with it. Now, if I talk about this particular thing, it tells you in which directory you are right now. Let's say if I move to where log directory, it tells me that I am currently into the log directory. So in that manner, you can segregate your initial naming of the I would say command. Okay. Now this is the root user. And now let's say if I do this thing, so what does that mean? Can anyone please tell me what does that mean? So this means
Yes.
that, yeah, anyone was saying?
Yes, sir. That one is user root. We are in user root.
Correct. So this means that we are, if I segregate all the things, okay, now what this particular thing tells us about is, let's say, this tells that I am the root user. Okay. This is the IP of the server, I would say host name of the server. I am into the root user, or I am into the home directory, home root user home directory, I would say root user home directory. So home directory means root user work environment, I would say. Okay, this is, and another approach is, let's say if I go into cd root, now what does that mean?
Directory slash.
Anyone?
The folder of root user.
Folder is root user. Okay. Yeah, the folder is root user. Sorry, I have done something wrong over here. Let me just do this thing again. Okay. So what does that thing means? The difference, it is very important for you to know the difference between these two things. Okay. So if I do this command, let's say this one, and there is another command available, that is this one. So the both the things denotes in that manner. Let's say now user is same. Okay, the user is same over here. This is the same, IP is the same. The only difference over here was the slash and the tilt. So what does that mean is, It means if I talk about these two things are same, that is your user, that is at the rate at which you are trying to log in. This is the host name, and this particular thing means this is the root directory of your Linux server. Mark my words, there are two different things. One is the home directory of root user. Another thing is root directory of your Linux server. Okay, this is your root directory of Linux user, or I would say root user, and this is the root directory of your Linux server. Now, what does that mean? Let's say when you do ls-lt, you are not getting anything. Okay, when you do this, and now you do this particular thing, now it means that you are under the root directory of your server or the main directory of your server, or you can symbolize it as the C directory of your server. Let's say C directory is having C directory is the I would say is having all the configuration, is having all the I would say whatever the things are required to make your Windows server available to use. The same thing is related to this directory. This slash means the root directory of the Linux server. Getting my point? Now, guys, if you have any kind of a questions, you can ask me. Any questions, guys? Okay, so I think that you are clear with this. So just answer me one thing. Let's say if I create a file, let's say A, or I would say A. So can anyone tell me that where this particular file is created? Is it
The root
created
directory.
root directory of my Linux server or root directory of my root user?
On Linux server.
Root directory.
Correct. So when you do this thing, it is created in your root directory of your Linux server. Whereas if I do this thing, tilt means this is the work directory or work environment of your Linux super user or root user. Okay. So when I create a directory over here, so here you can see when I do ls, or I would say this one, you can see this file is created. So this touch command means, guys, when you want to create a blank file in Linux, you can create it with touch command. Here you can see this file is having this permission. Here you can see at the very beginning it is having a dash hyphen here, which means that it is a file. Total number of links associated with it is 1. This is the ownership. Right now root is the owner of this. Total space and the time at which this particular is created. Okay, now let's say if I ask you, I need to check that what is the time on my server right now. How can I check that?
Time.
Date command.
Yeah, so you have to run a command date which tells you that right now this is the time of your server. Generally AWS provides the time in UTC format. If you want to change the time, you can change it. We'll talk it about later on. So it tells you that right now it is Wednesday, April 26, around 4:50. If you take it back to, 5.5 hours, it is almost around 10:30. So in that manner, you can just check that what is the date on your server right now. Okay, apart from this, Linux is a very smart operating system that you have not used any kind of a manual for your Windows, but Linux provide the manual for each and every command. Let's say if you want to see the manual and you want the more detailing about the Linux commands, then what you have to do, just type the command. Let's say ls command. You want to know more about the ls command, space, do one thing, man means manual. Ls cannot ls. Yeah, sorry, I was wrong about the command. So it is man ls means manual of ls command. So it tells you that the name of the command is ls, which means list directory or list contents. Okay, synopsis is this. In that manner you can use the command. This is the direct description of the command. Okay, what kind of options you can so what kind of options you can use with this command? Okay, let's say -a author and -b block size, what is ignore backups. So the color, whatever the detailing you want about each and every command, you can get with this man command. Not about ls. Suppose if I want to get the man about the cd command, that is change directory command. So here you are getting the manual about that. Let's how we can have this cd command, what kind of a use cases we can work on with this command. So in this command you can get the, let's say if I do the man for sudo, so it says that the name of the sudo execute, okay, command as a user, what kind of options you can use with this command. So all the description you can get. So in this manner, I mean, it is not easy to get each and every detailing by using, I mean, whatever the details you want, you can have with this man command. Now guys, time for the questions. If you have any questions, you can ask me now. Okay, so if you do not have any question, so what I want from you guys, that let's say if from tomorrow onwards, please get your AWS account ready with you, so that we can do the practice with the same flow that we are doing right now, so that I don't want you to be on the back seat in this course. Okay, because the every day if we are doing the practice, then it is good. And right now I would say it is not so much burden we do have in this. I mean, we are not going on a very fast pace. We are just going in a moderate way, so we can do the practice by our own. And apart from this, right now, let's say if we are getting some questions or we are getting some doubts, so it is better if we are clearing our doubts at the same time we are going with the session or with the topic. Now back to the AWS. Now guys, I have told you that once you are done with the uses of your AWS resource, please stop that. So for stopping that, what you have to do is click on the server that you have created, click on the instance state. After that, just click stop instance and just confirm that you want to stop this particular server. Just click stop, and you can see that your server has been successfully stopped. So just wait for a few more seconds. It says that it is stopping your server. So what is happening in the background? I have pushed a command to AWS to stop my resources in the physical data center of AWS. Okay. Now, next time, let's say if you want to use the same server, now what you should do, click on the same thing, click on the instance state, and just click on your server start. Okay, now there are different options available here. So you can see this, that instance state is having stop instance, start instance, reboot instance, hibernate, terminate. So terminate means that you are deleting your server and you don't want to use it again. So if you click on terminate instance, you won't be able to access this server again. If you're starting and stopping, then it means you can the time when you are using this server, you can start it. The time when you are not using it, you can stop it. In this manner, we can also we can have the cost optimization, or I would say we can just stop our resources of overutilization. Okay.
Yeah, because by turning on and off, is there any kind of changes like IP address or
Yes,
certificate?
IP address. So this public IP will be changed. There is a,
Certificate.
yeah, there is I mean, service which is called elastic IP in AWS. If we bind that IP to the particular instance, the IP is not going to change. But I'm not going to give you a recommendation on that, because that AWS IP is, or elastic IP is so costly. So right now it is not required for us to have a static IP, correct? The time when we are in a state that we require a static IP, then we at that time even might be we have developed our own VPC. So at that time we are just working on the static IP. So static IP doesn't changes when your I mean instances are starting and stopping. Okay.
Okay. So this key part will be same, right? It will not.
Yeah, key will be same.
It will not affect. Okay.
Key will be same, and even you can create multiple instances with the same key.
Okay.
How we can do that, I'll tell you on in the tomorrow's class. Tomorrow I'm going to create another server, and I'm going to show you that how we can connect one server to the another server in Linux. Okay.
Okay.
Guys, any kind of questions?
Sorry, sir, I deposited my documents in the AWS today. So it will take some time to
Yeah.
unlock MFA.
Yes, it will take some time. I think
So sorry.
I think I have given the page to Gaurav, and I think he has passed that page to you, if I'm not wrong. So I think it is going to take around 20 hours or 24 hours to make it applicable. Okay, Sayed, I think you were the one who is asking this question.
No, I am not the one.
Okay, no issues.
No, it's me, sir, Krishan.
Okay, Yashin. So it will take some time, and if still it doesn't work, you can reach me out. I'll tell you that what to do next. Okay.
Today the lady sent me some document from the notary. Today I attested and sent it back. So she told me 2-3 days they will open.
You got the documents on your email.
Yes, email.
Okay. Okay. So yes, it will take some time, but you can disable your MFA. No issues with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. So let's connect on tomorrow, guys.
Okay.